One of Milwaukee's own who faces various challenges every day is Dr. Howard Fuller, Director of Health and Human Services for Milwaukee County.
When you look at yourself, how would you describe Howard Fuller?
I don't know. I think I'm a fairly simple person. I mean, I like to do a good job at what I do. I'm very concerned about what happens in this community, particularly the African Americans, but to really all people, particularly those people who are poor. I'm very concerned about what's happening to young people. So when I see myself, I mean, I see a person who goes to work every day. You know, I try to do the best job that I can do. I try to be a decent neighbor. I don't know, I think I'm a fairly simple person, actually, so.
Dr. Fuller, you've been very outspoken on a number of issues, so much so that people have called you radical. Are you a radical person?
Well, some people say I'm a lackey, so I mean, I wonder how it is that I'm able to meet both of those sides of the spectrum. I guess the best way to describe it is I think some of my views would be considered radical by some people. Obviously, in days past, some of my actions and the way that I chose to try to raise issues were considered radical. I've never considered myself radical necessarily. I've always considered myself as being concerned. I was willing, and still am willing, to search for different ways of doing things to meet the problems that I see. I don't consider myself to be radical. I don't consider myself to be conservative. I just consider myself to be a person who's interested in change, and I'm willing to work for that change. And it's not so much change for me individually, because quite honestly, you know, I'm doing well by the standards that are set in the society. It's really change for those people who are not doing well, those people who don't have the financial and material resources that are needed to have a decent life for themselves and their family. I mean, that's what drives me.
You've been very vocal on a number of issues, the Lacey incident, the separate school district, etc. People have said since you acquired the position that you're in now as Director of Health and Human Services that you've been less vocal, that in this position they've sort of, quote, shut you up.
Yeah, well, you know, people say a lot of things. I mean, I think that to a certain extent that's true. Not that they shut me up, I shut myself up. And the reason why you do it is you use different strategies and tactics. Why would you take a position to be the Director of Health and Human Services and then function as if you're not? I mean, because if I'm not going to try to do this job, and through doing this job make a difference for people, then I shouldn't take the job. If I take the job, then I have to try to be effective in the job. I think I owe it to the community that if I take a position, that I function in a way that I can be effective in that position. If I'm not going to be effective, why bother? So I speak out on those issues that I feel like I want to speak out on. I get into rooms that I would not have been in before, and in those rooms, people don't know what I say. I take the same strong positions on issues, but I do it in a way where I can affect policy. I mean, that's what this is all about. So, you know, there's always the thing about, well, he's so loud and this or that, but you know, I'm old enough now to be able to understand that, you know, a lot of people, for a variety of reasons, some of them which have nothing to do with anything other than, you know, kind of crab in the barrel syndrome or jealousy. I mean, there's all kinds of reasons why people say stuff. So in the end, Sharon, the way I look at it is that you just have to be clear about what your own personal integrity is. You have to be clear about what it is you're doing and why. And you have to be comfortable with yourself. And I'm all of those things, so whatever else people want to say, you know, I mean, that's their problem, that's not mine.
What should people expect from you?
They should expect for me to work hard in the jobs that I'm in. They should expect me to be honest about what it is that I'm doing. They should expect me to protect the interests of people who are poor and powerless each and every day. They should expect me to try to be a role model, if I can, for young people. They should expect me to try to educate the community on issues when I have information that would help people to understand. They should expect me to do that. I mean, but you know, the thing that people really are expecting me to, Sharon, is that the people that I grew up with, who I went to high school with, they're still my friends, okay? I mean, because, I mean, I'm the same person in a sense that I was, you know, when I was going to North. I think that people should expect me to continue to be that way, and I intend to do that.
What do you do when you want to relax?
Well, I try to watch every basketball game that is ever played. And if there ain't a real one, I find a tape somewhere of those that I got. I'm into music, and I like to tape music for people who like to listen to the kind of music I want to tape. I'm a disc jockey, so I get requests to spin records for parties and for fundraisers and stuff like that. So I spend a lot of time in music stores listening to what is the latest stuff. Plus I'm into collecting. So I've got 78s and you know, from my mother's attic, and some other people giving me 78s. I got this huge collection of 45s that go back to the 1950s, you know, on up to today. So I'm into that. I read a lot. Most of what I read is memos, but I try to make sure I read books on the major social issues. And then every now and then I'll read like Stephen King or just Irving Wallace or somebody, just something that don't have nothing to do with nothing. And then I try to go to movies. I haven't done as much in the last several months. So, you know, and then I fix stuff around my house, you know, like I put in a toilet, or I'll, you know, fix something or break something and then have to fix it. So, you know, those are the things I try to do to maintain some level of sanity.
What's in your future?
I don't know. I have no idea. I mean, you know, I've never really been a careerist, Sharon, where you know, you got people who sit down and they lay out this path, you know, that they're going to pursue, and they do all these things to make sure that they reach their objectives. And I don't have any problems with that. I mean, it makes sense, except I've never done it. And I'm too old to start trying to do it now. So I don't know what's in my future. I'm going to try to do this job as well as I can. You know, I'll apply for the director of, or the president, excuse me, of MATC, and see what happens.
Well, none of us can see into the future, but we wish him well in his endeavors. Someone else who may not see into the future, but sees the world in a more beautiful